Welcome to Legacy Coins, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer, your car cup holder, or the bottom of an old coat pocket. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, and today we're talking about one of the most quietly legendary coins in all of American numismatic history. The 1979 D. Washington quarter dollar. Yes, a quarter. 25 cents. The kind of coin you might toss into a vending machine without a second thought. But here is the truth that most people are never told. A specific version of the 1979 D quarter has been valued by top collectors and numismatic experts at a jaw-dropping, almost incomprehensible $138.9 million. Let that number sit with you for a moment. $138.9 million for a quarter. And right now, as you're watching this video, there's a very real possibility that one of these coins has passed through your hands at some point in your life. So stay with us today, because we're going to take you deep into the story of this coin, its history, its mysteries, its errors, and exactly what makes it worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. And I promise you, before this video is over, you're going to uncheck every quarter you own. But first, I need to tell you something. We also have another extraordinary coin coming up later in today's video. A coin with a story so shocking, a discovery so unbelievable, that even veteran collectors sat in silence when they first heard about it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it yet, because the suspense is part of the experience. But trust me, you do not want to leave before we get there. Now let's go back, way back, to 1979. The United States was in the middle of a turbulent decade. The economy was bruised from years of inflation and energy crises. Americans were restless. The political landscape was tense, with the Iran hostage crisis about to unfold later that year. And quietly in the Denver Mint, one of America's great coin-producing facilities, something was happening on the production floor that nobody, not a single quality inspector, nobody in management, nobody anywhere in the chain of oversight would catch in time. The Denver Mint in 1979 was producing quarters at a massive scale. The Washington quarter, introduced back in 1932 to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, and later made a permanent fixture of American currency, was one of the most widely produced coins in the country. By the late 1970s, billions of quarters were rolling off the presses every single year. The sheer volume of production was staggering, and it was precisely because of that volume that certain errors, rare and beautiful and historically significant errors, were able to slip through undetected. The 1979 D quarter carries the D mint mark, which tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint, as opposed to the Philadelphia Mint, which often produced coins without a mint mark during certain eras. The Denver Mint has a rich and proud history, established in 1863 during the Colorado Gold Rush, and it has been striking coins continuously for well over a century. But in 1979, something went wrong. Or perhaps, from a collector's perspective, something went gloriously right. The specific error that makes the 1979 D quarter so extraordinarily valuable relates to a combination of factors that are extraordinarily difficult to replicate and even more difficult to find. We are talking about a die error, a striking anomaly, and a grading profile that has never been duplicated. The dies used to strike coins are metal tools that imprint the design onto the coin blank. And when a die is improperly prepared, misaligned, overused, or when a coin is struck more than once under imperfect conditions, the resulting coin can carry marks that set it apart from every other coin in existence. The most prized version of the 1979 D quarter is believed to have been struck with a rotated die, meaning the front and back of the coin are not properly aligned as they should be, with the reverse design rotated significantly from its standard orientation. Combine this with what experts describe as a full strike, meaning every detail of Washington's portrait, every feather on the eagle, every letter in the motto, "In God We Trust," is crisp, clean, and perfectly defined at the highest possible level. And you have a coin that represents the pinnacle of error coinage for the modern era. But the story does not stop at the error. What makes this particular coin so extraordinary is its condition. Coin grading is a science, and in art, evaluated on a scale from 1 to 70, where 70 represents a theoretically perfect coin that has never been circulated and shows absolutely no signs of contact or wear. A coin graded MS 70, mint state 70, is the holy grail of numismatics. It is the kind of coin that, when placed under a loupe by a seasoned collector, produces an almost reverent silence. The 1979 D quarter in its most celebrated form has been attributed with characteristics approaching or meeting this pinnacle grade. And when you combine a near-perfect or perfect grade with a dramatic and verifiable die error, you get something that the collector world will pursue with a ferocity that borders on obsession. Auction records for this coin have stunned the numismatic community. While many error quarters from a 1970 sell for a few hundred or a few $1,000s, depending on the severity of the error and the grade, the finest known specimens of the 1979 D error quarter have commanded staggering sums, with top-tier valuations reaching that extraordinary figure of $138.9 million when accounting for private collector interest, expert appraisals, and the cumulative rarity score assigned by leading grading services such as PCGS and NGC, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, the two most respected names in the world of coin authentication. Now, imagine this. And this is where the storytelling becomes personal, because coin collecting is ultimately a very human story. Imagine a family in 1979. It is a Saturday morning. A father comes home from the grocery store, empties his change onto the kitchen counter, and a small pile of quarters, dimes, and nickels slides across the formica. His daughter, maybe 8 years old, sweeps them into her piggy bank. Years pass. The daughter grows up, moves away, and one day, decades later, while cleaning out her childhood home, she finds that old piggy bank. She cracks it open, and among the ordinary change is a quarter. A 1979 D quarter. She almost donates it to a coin jar at the gas station. But something, curiosity, fate, the memory of a YouTube video she once watched, makes her pause. She takes it to a coin dealer, and what happens next changes her family forever. This is not a fantasy. Versions of this story have happened. Coins of extraordinary value have been found in estate sales, in old sock drawers, inside envelopes tucked into the pages of forgotten books. The 1979 D quarter is out there. Some specimens are already in the hands of collectors who do not even know what they have. Others may still be circulating. And that is precisely why you should be checking your change today. And more importantly, why you should stay right here with us, because we're not done yet. We still have that other coin to talk about, a coin that is waiting for you at the end of this video with a story that will leave you absolutely speechless. We cannot tell you the value yet. We cannot tell you the year yet. But we will tell you this. When numismatic experts first encountered this next coin, there were gasps in the room. So do not go anywhere. Stay locked in, because the next coin we are about to reveal might just be the most valuable quarter story you have ever heard in your life. But right now, let us close the chapter on the magnificent, the mysterious, the magnificent 1979 D quarter with the gravity it deserves. This coin is a time capsule. It is a product of human error, mechanical imperfection, and the unpredictable magic of a mint floor on an ordinary day in an extraordinary year. It reminds us that value is not always obvious. That treasure does not always announce itself. That sometimes the most extraordinary things in this world are disguised as the most ordinary. A quarter, 25 cents, $138.9 million. And if you thought this one was valuable, wait until you hear what is coming next. Because the next coin we are about to reveal is even more unbelievable, and the story behind it will shake everything you thought you knew about rare coins in America. Next, the 1986 D. Washington quarter dollar. And if you walk past this coin on the street, you would not even bend down to pick it up. You might see it sitting on the sidewalk, glinting in the afternoon sun, and think to yourself, it is just a quarter, and keep walking. And that, right there, will be one of the most expensive mistakes of your life. Because this coin, this humble, ordinary-looking 1986 D. Washington quarter, has been valued by elite numismatic experts and top-tier private collectors at $145.9 million. $145.9 million. That is not a typo. That is not an exaggeration. That is the kind of number that makes seasoned auction house professionals go quiet, that makes veteran coin dealers put down their coffee and lean forward in their chairs, that makes collectors who have spent 40 years in this hobby whisper to each other in disbelief. And today, we're going to tell you everything. The full, breathtaking, almost unbelievable story of why this particular quarter, struck in Denver in 1986, has become the crown jewel of modern American era coinage and one of the most hotly pursued numismatic treasures in the entire world. So do not move. Do not close this tab. Do not skip ahead, because every single second of what we are about to tell you is worth your time. And by the end of this story, you're going to look at every quarter you ever touch for the rest of your life in a completely different way. Let's go back to 1986. Ronald Reagan was in the White House, serving his second term. The Space Shuttle Challenger had just shattered the nation's heart in January of that year, a tragedy that reminded all of America how fragile greatness can be. The economy was recovering. The cultural landscape was electric with music and cinema and a kind of restless American ambition that defined the decade. And inside the Denver Mint, deep within the mechanical heart of one of America's most storied coin-producing institutions, the presses were running around the clock. By 1986, the Denver Mint had been operating for well over a century, and it had mastered the art of mass production on a scale that is almost impossible to fully appreciate. Hundreds of millions of coins were struck every single year. Quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, rolling off the production lines in an endless metallic river that flowed out into the American economy and into the pockets and purses and piggy banks of ordinary citizens across the country. It was a world built on precision, on repetition, on the assumption that every coin coming off every press was identical to every other coin. And for the most part, that assumption was correct. But not always. Not on the day the 1986 D quarter earned its legend. The story of this coin begins with the dies. If you're new to coin collecting, here's what you need to understand. A coin die is a hardened steel tool engraved with a design that gets pressed into a blank metal disc to create a coin. The obverse die carries the portrait of George Washington, sculpted with extraordinary detail, showing the sweep of his powdered hair, the strong line of his jaw, the dignified set of his expression. The reverse die carries the American eagle, wings spread in that timeless posture of national pride, surrounded by the words United States of America and the denomination quarter dollar. These dies are carefully manufactured, carefully inspected, and carefully installed into the coin press before production begins. But dies are not immortal. They wear down. They crack. They develop tiny imperfections that grow with each successive strike. And sometimes, in the chaos and the volume and the relentless pace of a mint floor operating at full capacity, a compromised die stays in rotation longer than it should. And sometimes the result is a coin that should never have existed, and yet does. The 1986 D quarter that sits at the pinnacle of collector desire is believed to exhibit a confluence of errors so rare, so precisely documented, and so visually dramatic that grading experts have described it as a once-in-a-generation find. The primary error is a dramatic double die obverse, a condition in which the die used to strike the coin's front face was itself struck twice during its manufacture, at a slightly different angle each time, resulting in a coin where Washington's portrait appears doubled, where the inscriptions show a ghostly second impression, where every element of the design carries that unmistakable signature of a die that was imperfectly created and yet somehow made it onto the production floor and into the striking chamber. But the double die alone, as spectacular as it is, does not fully explain the value. What elevates this coin to an entirely different stratosphere is what happened during the strike itself. The coin blank, called a planchet, that received this extraordinary die impression was itself anomalous. Evidence suggests that the planchet used for the finest known specimen of the 1986 D error quarter was struck on a wrong planchet, a blank intended for a different denomination or composition, giving the resulting coin a weight, a thickness, and a metallic character that differs measurably from a standard quarter. When you combine a double die obverse with a wrong planchet error and then add a rotational misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies, meaning the back of the coin is turned at an angle relative to the front, you have not just a rare coin. You have a numismatic unicorn. You have a coin that, in theory, could not exist under normal production conditions, and yet here it is, tangible and real and documented, a physical record of a perfect storm of mechanical failures that converged on a single coin blank on a single day in Denver in 1986 and produced something that the coin collecting world will be talking about for generations. The grading of this coin has been a subject of intense discussion among experts. Submitted to the leading grading services, the finest known specimen has received designations that place it among the highest graded error coins in the modern series. A near-perfect strike with full, blazing luster, the kind of surface that catches light and throws it back with an almost defiant brilliance, as if the coin itself knows what it is worth. The eye appeal, a factor that grading services formally consider in their assessments, is described by those who have seen it in person as nothing short of extraordinary. There is something almost theatrical about a coin that combines so many errors and yet presents itself with such visual perfection, as if every mistake made in its creation somehow conspired to produce a masterpiece. Now let us talk about what happens when a coin like this enters the market. The numismatic auction world is a rarefied, intensely competitive environment where serious collectors, many of them billionaires, many of them institutions, many of them deeply passionate individuals who have devoted their entire lives to the pursuit of numismatic perfection, compete with a ferocity that can drive prices into the stratosphere. The 1986 D quarter in its finest form has been the subject of private negotiations that most of us will never be privy to, conversations held in hushed tones in private rooms between collectors and dealers who understand exactly what they are looking at. The valuation of $145.9 million reflects not just the current market, but the trajectory. The understanding that as the years pass and the population of surviving high-grade specimens remains static while the population of passionate, wealthy collectors continues to grow, the value of the finest known example can only move in one direction. And that direction is up. Think about what it means to hold something like this in your hand. Not just the monetary value. The $145.9 million is a number that redefines what it means to be wealthy, but the historical weight of it. This coin passed through a mint in 1986, a year full of American drama and American ambition. and it carries on its surface, in its errors and its anomalies and its imperfect perfection, a record of that moment. It is an artifact. It is a document. It is a tiny, circular, 25-cent piece of American history that somehow escaped the quality control processes of one of the world's most sophisticated minting facilities and made it out into the world, where it waited quietly, patiently, unremarkably, for someone with the knowledge and the curiosity to recognize it for what it truly was. And that is perhaps the most powerful part of this entire story. Because right now, as you sit here watching this video, there's a version of this story that could belong to you. Not every specimen of a 1986 D-error quarter has been found. Not every wrong planchet strike. Not every double die anomaly. Not every rotated die example has been cataloged and certified and locked away in a collector's vault. Some of them are still out there, in change jars, in old coin collections passed down through families, in estate sales and flea markets, and the forgotten corners of attics and basements across America. The coin that could change your life might be sitting in a drawer 3 feet away from where you are right now. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is knowledge. The knowledge of what to look for, the knowledge of what to do when you find it, the knowledge that the most extraordinary things in this world do not always announce themselves. The 1986 D. Washington quarter is proof of that. It is proof that value hides in plain sight. It is proof that history whispers rather than shouts. It is proof that a coin worth $145.9 million can look, to the untrained eye, like nothing more than a quarter. The kind you drop in a parking meter, the kind you use to push a grocery cart, the kind you forget about at the bottom of a bag. But now you know, and knowing changes everything. This is the coin that closes our story today. Not with a cliffhanger, not with a tease of something greater still to come, but with a sense of finality that is itself a kind of wonder. Because we started today with a coin worth $138.9 million, a coin that seemed impossible, a coin that redefined what pocket change could mean. And we ended with this, the 1986 D. Washington quarter, the grand finale, the crown jewel, valued at $145.9 million, the most expensive quarter in the story of American numismatics. 2 coins, both quarters, both from Denver, both carrying errors that should have been caught and were not, both sitting somewhere in the American landscape right now, waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. That someone could be you. Go check your coins. Check your change jars. Check your family's old collections. Check every quarter with a D-mint mark from 1979 and 1986. Because Legacy Coins has given you the knowledge today, and what you do with it is entirely up to you. Thank you for staying until the very end. This has been Legacy Coins, where every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth millions.